What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA Show, powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/AllNBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler, who just 8 hours ago was in Denver, Colorado. Now somehow he's all the way across the country and home. Insanity, Legs. What are you doing?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I went back. Here's the thing, too. They moved up the game, a couple hours because there was the only game of the night. So when they moved the start time up, my red eye didn't take off from Denver till 1 a.m. So I had like 4 hours after the game to kill. And we were celebrating a little bit because it was our last game together as a crew. I won't be calling any more games this season. So we had a couple glasses of wine back at the hotel. Then I headed to the airport. Red-eyed it back. No sleep. I can't sleep on it, red eyes. It's terrible. I feel completely wiped out, but I'm energized to be back here with you and talk about this game because I thought it was an absolutely incredible game. The environment was awesome. And we set up Sunday, man. I can't wait.
It was a great one that you got, being your last game of the year. An absolutely fantastic game that the Nuggets pulled out really in the late third quarter to get the 119-107 win over the Thunder and now set up that game 7. We're going to lead with that. We're also going to talk Celtics Knicks and then some general playoff questions that came in on our mailbag that I think make for interesting discussion. I'm excited to get Legs' thoughts on all of those. But yes, let's start with the game last night. Nuggets 119-107. They had a nice offensive rhythm to start this game. If you remember that first quarter, the ball was popping, 11 assists for Denver. They were just carving up the Oklahoma City defense. And the first turn in the game to me came when Russell Westbrook entered the game because, he changes. Obviously, it's a different style. But Denver, I thought, had a couple possessions in a row where they got out of their rhythm. Some of this is, OKC defense, but I think a lot of it was Denver just shot selection and decision-making there. And this is often the case with rhythm teams. When you get knocked out of rhythm, it's hard to get back into it. And Denver didn't really get back into that rhythm until the very end of the first half. But to me, Denver was off to a great start, and that's kind of the ebb and flow of the first half.
Totally agree. And there's no doubt they played great to start the game. And you never know. They could have been tight at the beginning. You've got some guys that haven't shot the ball particularly well. And now here you got this elimination game at home. Like, there's a lot of nerves in the building. They came out great. And I also think Oklahoma City contributed to it in that it wasn't, to me, the typical amount of pressure that you normally see applied at Oklahoma City. I just felt like they came out like an average NBA defensive team, not like the best defensive team in the league. And Denver took advantage of it. I thought the ball movement was great. I thought they had a lot of freedom of movement on their cuts and coming off of screens. I thought their pace of their offense was really sharp. And they come out and they jump out to what was that? What was the biggest lead they had early? 10?
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
30-20 with 3 minutes left after Christian Brown's 3. They go up 10. And I think that was followed by a timeout right after that. So you're right. Start to the game, so important in a pressure-packed moment like that. I think it calmed everybody's nerves, and especially considering, we're hearing right before the game, Jamal Murray might not play.
Right.
You're like, oh my goodness. So now you don't even know what he's going to look like. He came out and he got rolling quickly. I think that settled everybody down, man, in the building, and I think on their bench, and even probably David Adelman, honestly, to see his team come out and look that good early in the game.
I think certainly the Nuggets, because so much of the series has come down to shot making for guys not named Jokic or SGA. You're always looking around to say, who's with me tonight? So when he's sick, you're already worried, but he came out and knocked a couple down, and I think you're right. It settled everything. And Denver, that was just that first, 8 minutes of the game was some of the best offense we've seen from Denver in this series, probably the best 8-minute offensive stretch. We got another one of those late in the third we'll talk about in a second. But then, the Thunder come back, they build a lead. They go up 12 points in the second quarter, and then all of a sudden the whole tables had turned where you go, okay, is OKC going to run away with this one? But SGA picked up his 4th foul in the first half. Daigneault decided to stay with him for a little bit after he picked up his 3rd. A risky decision. And he picked up a foul 90 feet from the basket that I thought was just a really bad choice for a guy who was dealing with foul trouble. No matter what you think of how much contact there was or wasn't, trying to get a steal in that moment I thought was weird. And once he went out, Denver closed the second quarter really strong. I think it was a 12-3 run. Dort hit that 3 at the very end. But to me, that was also the game. There's these little moments in here. That run from Denver closed the gap and made it a 1/2 game.
Totally agree. The foul was a big play in the game, and he got stripped clean, and then he reached in, reactionary. He reaches in, try to get it back. Clearly, rakes Jokic across the arm. He tried to complain about it. It was silly because the replay showed clearly it was a foul. It was a big play. The way they closed the second quarter was really important. I said it on the broadcast. Like, this is a really important 4 minutes for Denver. To close this and go into halftime, 2-point game, totally different feel, man. Then that's 6, 8, 10. That just feels a lot different to them. The pressure might have kicked in at the start of the third quarter. One of the things I want to finish up with, that first 8, 9 minutes of the game, really important, man. They made some threes. That to me, and I said it in the open to the game, I felt like was the single biggest factor in the game where Denver's supporting cast going to make some threes. I was confident Jokic would do his thing. I didn't know about Murray, but that's a health thing, but he looked good early. So for me, at that point, you come out, 4-point play, pull up jumper, had another layup in transition. There's no more sickness anymore. I'm sorry. To me, those are all like taking medicine. Like, you feel a lot better if the ball goes in. So for me, it was like, can those other guys make shots? And I had a number going into this. Russell Westbrook, Christian Brown, and Michael Porter Jr. Those were the 3 guys combined going into that game. 20 for 83 from the 3 in this series.
Man.
24% from the 3-point line. Critical component for them, man, for their spacing. In the beginning of the game, Jamal Murray hits a 4-point play. Michael Porter Jr. hit one, and Christian Brown hit one. I think that also let everybody breathe a sigh of relief. Like, man, finally we have a little bit of shooting. It's not like they're ever going to be Boston or Cleveland or one of these teams that can just bomb you out with 25 threes. But can you give me 12, 13, 14, something like that? It's exactly what they got from those guys. And so that was a big part of the game, start of the game. OKC goes on their run, and then Denver closes the first half with another run of their own to basically get it to where now you reduce the game to 2 quarters.
Right. Yeah. And so what I liked about this note here is there were 3 runs to end quarters in this game that made up this game. End of quarter 1, Denver's up 10. OKC closes quarter 1 really strong, and it's a 3-point game. So they erased the first 10 minutes with a 2-minute run. Denver, down 10 in the second quarter, closed the gap on that 12-3 run, and now all of a sudden it's a 3-point game going into the half. And then at the end of the third quarter, same thing, tie game, only a couple minutes to go in the third quarter, and enter your guy, Julian Strawther, who has not played a whole lot in the last 4 months because he got hurt and he was missed at the end of the regular season, hasn't been in the playoff rotation. And he comes in and he hits a pair of threes. He gets a layup. He just makes a bunch of plays. Legs, I can't tell you how surprised I am that Julian Strawther had the run that he had in that moment. And it was absolutely the difference that the Nuggets needed.
Yeah, you're right, all of us. And it's not because of the talent, because he's a natural scorer. The guy can score. He can shoot. And when he's been healthy and gotten playing time, the guy can absolutely produce with some scoring. It's the fact that hadn't even mentioned his name, as a factor at all in this series. And you put him in the game, and it's a 3-point game. It's tied. Just under 2 minutes. Just under 2 minutes, he makes the first one. They go up 3, go down the other end. Shai misses a shot. Holmgren gets an offensive rebound, and then Jokic blocks the follow-up, throws that outlet pass to Jamal Murray, who gets the reverse layup. He did get bumped on that. He's screaming at the official, and one, right? They let the T go. I'm glad they didn't call a T on that because it was so demonstrative. That usually leads to a T. They let it go. He go up 5. Come down. Shai misses a 3. And then Strawther hits another one.
In the corner, left corner.
Just like that. And it was Julian Strawther. He had his own personal mini run to close the third quarter. And you talk about releasing the lid off a pressure cooker. You're tied up going into the fourth quarter. You got 12 minutes to keep your season alive. Yep. And you know what just happened in the last fourth quarter in OKC. So all that stuff swirling in the air. And Julian Strawther took all that out of the equation. Say, no, I'm just going to go ahead and handle this myself and get separation. And it was a beautiful thing to watch. I just always have such special. I was a role player. I have special place in my heart for role players that have impacted moments like that. To watch the reaction of the bench, how happy the bench was, not because they just got an 8-point lead, also for him, just for him of all people to come in there and do that in that moment, man. It was pretty special. He'll remember that the rest of his life, man. No matter what happens in his career, and no matter what happens in Game 7, he's going to remember that moment forever. Like, that's how big that was. That's how good the crowd was. It was pretty special.
It just also shows you how desperately Denver could use shooting an extra shooter in their rotation, because they haven't been going to him very much. And when he's out there, it's like 3 minutes. He is going to be a defensive liability. I don't expect him to repeat that performance in Game 7 on the road. I think that'd be a crazy thing to expect from him. But when you have an eighth guy you can throw out there that can make a shot or at least just space the floor, it completely changes the complexion of the game. And one way it changed it, Legs, was Jokic got to go to the bench in the fourth quarter. So instead of a tie game, or up 2, you're up 8 again going into the fourth quarter. And they decide this time, they being Denver, to rest Jokic and give him a little bit of a blow. And then Denver started the fourth quarter well. It continued into that quarter. So they gave him, I think, a full 4.5 minutes where he didn't have to check back into the game. And to me, that was the difference between these previous 2 games and this one, is that Jokic was able to come in and hit the ground running and get a breather and come in and hit the ground running. And that's what gave Denver ultimately a 16-point lead as they entered the clutch.
Yeah, and I talked about it on the broadcast because I've done a lot of Nuggets games this year, and that's always a key question for me. There's a direct correlation between scoring some baskets and Jokic's rest at the start of the fourth quarter, because it's always the same. He plays most of the third quarter, if not all of it, most nights. That's the same substitution pattern Steph Curry had for years, but the Warriors would never put Curry back in the game until there were 6 minutes left. And I would watch like double-digit leads disappear, and I couldn't believe the patience that they had, man. They stayed with it. Now, they were great teams during those years. I get it. But still, the temptation of a coach, man, to look down there, you see a 10-point lead get whittled to 4, man, you're like, come on, let's go. Enough of this. And they waited. And the reason they could wait, and it bought him, I looked at it, it was actually 7:53. So he got 4:07 of rest, plus the quarter break. Of real time. That's of real time. That's like a nice long break. And the reason he could do it was because you look at the start of the fourth quarter, Jamal Murray hits a 3. Russell Westbrook, who we'll get into him more in a second, did have a putback. So he gets a tip in.
Yeah, it was big.
He gets a tip in. Strawther makes a free throw, makes 2 free throws, and then Jokic checks back in the game. And during that time, OKC wasn't really scoring. So the lead was same. It was actually increased. When he came back in the game, they were up 9. And here you go. Now Jokic can go close the game fresh. And I said when he checked in, or maybe I said a few minutes after, like around 5-minute mark, I said, I thought he was very reserved offensively as far as shot hunting. Yeah. I just felt he was kind of like patient, but like not nearly as aggressive as he's been sometimes in this series. And he's going to have to, at some point, I think, inject himself into this game as a scorer for them to win this game. And he was more aggressive. He got to the line a lot. They were fouling him, but he was just more aggressive in general when he checked back in, and probably because he did feel fresh. That extra rest does help a guy like that, man. He's carrying around a lot of weight. He's laboring. Sometimes breathing looks like he's really like tired. He came in fresh and closed the game.
Yep. The series has come down to role players quite a bit. If you go back through the series, game 1, AG hits a game winner. Game 3, so game 2 is a blowout. Game 3, Michael Porter Jr. was 5 of 6 from the three-point line. That was his one good game in the series. Denver gets the win. In game 4, Wiggins and Wallace hit those threes in the clutch. If you remember, game 4 was very close. Who's going to make shots? It was Wiggins and Wallace coming up for them. In game 5, it was Dort's three-point barrage, 3 threes in a row in the fourth quarter. That was the difference. And then last night, it was Julian Strawther. And it's crazy because 5 of these 6 games have been razor thin. Last night, Denver was up 16 with 5 minutes to go. So that game was maybe not quite as close, but still same thing. Strawther is the one that opened it up. So all of these games, except for one, have come down to guys you would not have said it's going to come down to. But I just think that's what this is. The margin, these two teams are pretty even. And so it comes down to who's going to make the shots at the right moments that give you the advantage into the clutch.
Totally agree. And so let's just go, line by line. You think about it, man. You win this game on a night Aaron Gordon has 5 points. Pretty incredible. If you told me before the game Aaron Gordon was going to give you 5 points, I would have said there's no way they win because of the place that some of these other guys were in shooting the ball. You know, like you think all of a sudden they're just going to start making shots. All right. Michael Porter Jr., he had the one good game and he was 5 for 32 in the other 4. Okay. Yeah. And I think 2 for 21 from the 3 in those 4 games. 4 for 9, 2 for 5, man. They'll take it right now. 10 points. And I thought a couple of those are timely threes. Jokic was Jokic. Murray was great. Christian Brown's another guy, man. He had, I voted for him for most improved player. I voted for him for most improved player in the league. And I love Christian Brown. And we actually got a chance to sit down with him for 10, 15 minutes before the game in the green room interview. It's the first time I've met him. I got a chance to talk to him and ask him some stuff. He had some great answers on some questions, but he was averaging 9 points a game in the series, man. He averaged 16 in the regular season. Like, that's a significant drop-off. He came through. He might have been, to me, the best player relative to kind of how they'd been playing. He was awesome in this game. Both ends of the floor. Gives you 23. We talked a lot about Strawther. Peyton Watson, 1 for 7, 4 points. Did have some defensive presence in this game, but still struggled to shoot again. And then you've got Russell Westbrook. So let's talk about Russell Westbrook's first stint in the game. And like what
it was really bad.
What David Adelman did.
Yeah.
And I give him a lot of credit. He puts him in the game and he was a -7 in 2.5 minutes. He had 3 turnovers in the first half, had a terrible jumper where he flashed in from the weak side to the basically the foul line. He shot a jumper, man, straight on that slammed off the backboard. I mean, Pash was like, not even close. It's like, and then he missed 1 of 2 free throws. And then he came out. And, well, no, he didn't come out right then. They did take him out eventually. When he was standing there and they put in, I don't know if it was the first half or second. Again, he was struggling. He was supposed to get longer run, and they sent Christian Brown up to the scorer's table. And Julian Strawther was standing right in front of him. And he saw Christian Brown walk to the table, and Julian Strawther started walking toward the bench. And Christian Brown goes, no, not you. And he nodded toward Russell Westbrook, who was over there standing right in front of where we were sitting. And I saw Westbrook at least twice as Christian Brown was walking toward him, tapped his own chest like, me? You got me. You're coming in for me.
Yeah.
And Brown was like, sheepishly like, yeah, man, what do you want me to do? So Westbrook then walks, doesn't talk to anybody, walks all the way down and sits on the end of the bench. And it's almost been the first half. Because then I said on the air, the one thing about Russell Westbrook, he is not going to go over there, stick his head up his rear end, and pout and be done for the night. As far as energy, he might not play any better, but he's not going to be a guy that comes in and now he's half-heartedly playing and he's all mad at the coach and all that. I give him credit for that. He did come in. He had a big putback, and then he had a driving layup when OKC was forcing all those turnovers toward the end of the game. He got the ball at half court against Chet Holmgren, put his head down, turned the corner, and went all the way to the rim for a layup and broke the pressure. And so he still made plays to contribute. I give him credit for that. It was definitely a horrid stretch that he had in that game. And some people thought he almost turned the game to such an extent they were going to lose the game because of that stretch. It was too early for that. But give the guy some credit, man. He did stay with it mentally to come back in with the same level of intensity and make a couple of plays at least. But boy, he was bad. And now Strawther playing well may give Adelman a different option in a game 7. He may, depending on what he needs, offense or defense, it may play into that selection. Yeah. If the game's okay and they're not scoring, but the defense is holding up, but they need a couple of baskets, he might go with Strawther, man, in a game 7 in minutes that would have gone to Westbrook because of how bad that was yesterday.
Yeah, and it's just, again, it's just about shooting. It's about spacing. It's about what is needed for the exact defense that you're going up against and how they're guarding you. In Denver, we've been saying it the whole time. They have Murray, they have MPJ. When either of them are off the floor, Denver's struggling. because you have no one to replace him. Well, last night it was Julian Strawther replaced one of them and was able to do it, and so it makes sense. But to your point, Russell Westbrook, he not only had the tip in, which was a huge play, but he also had a coast to coast. Again, this game ended up being, what was it, a 12-point game, but it was really I think it wasn't that close. It was 16 points with 5 minutes to go, and Denver made some mistakes. One of the things that calmed down the mistakes was a Russell Westbrook coast to coast where he gets a layup, and to me, that was the last bucket. That was the one where I was like, okay, up 12, 3 minutes or 2 minutes or something. And so he did, to your point, he stuck with it. But I want to ask this question now because it's the big one for me before we get to Aaron Gordon. This is the Nuggets offensive rating by game. In the very first game, they guard him with Chet, put Chet on Jokic. Jokic goes to town. Denver has a 114 offensive rating. Let's throw that one out because they adjusted after that, and they've more or less stuck with their adjustment since. Denver had a 102 offensive rating, then 105.6. Game 4 was the one where both teams couldn't make a basket. Game 5, 108. Game 6, 115.5. That's 4 games in a row now where Denver has gotten better offensively. And when you watch last night, it kind of looked and felt like it. Not that Denver was perfect, but that they were in rhythm and comfortable more often. And I just wonder if Denver has kind of slowly figured out how to attack this a little bit better every single game.
Yeah, well, here's one thing I'll say was different about last night. And I asked David Adelman this question before the game. Their identity had slipped away from them in this series, right? So they were the lowest volume 3-point shooting team in the NBA this season. Shot a decent percentage. They just didn't take very many. Dominate points in the paint, dominate transition points. Like that's the main way they score. They averaged like just over 30 3-point attempts a game. They're taking 40 a game going into this game. 40. And you see the shooting percentages I was giving you. This is what Oklahoma City was forcing. And they were willing to live with it, man. And especially that fourth quarter, or really the second half of the third quarter, fourth quarter of game 5, when Westbrook missed some, Porter, Peyton Watson found himself open. Like the 3 guys that Oklahoma City said, go ahead, man. Have as many as you want. Jamal Murray went cold. They didn't want necessarily him to get some shots off, but they all went cold. And it, again, played into what Oklahoma City's forcing them to do. And David Adams said it. He goes, man, I don't like shooting this many threes. He goes, yeah, you're right. Because we don't, that's not who we are. But they're doing such a great job with the amount of bodies they flood the paint with. That's the shot that's available. And I've told my guys, take the shot if it's an open shot, even though it's not their strength. And that's kind of what they were doing. Look at their shot attempts in this one. I think it was 32, something like that. That's their number.
Yeah.
And they were better in the paint. They were averaging like 36 points in the paint in the series. And I think they had, saw it yesterday, points in the paint, 52. So their points in the paint was 16 points over their average in this series. Their 3-point attempt number was right at their season average, as was basically their makes. So that is more like what a Denver offense and a Denver box score looks like in that game, more so than the others. Let's see if they can replicate that in a game 7 on the road.
It will be difficult for them to do on the road. I mean, game 7s typically are ugly slugfest. You can't really count on your role players to show up there for both sides. But here's one question I have now. First of all, has any team been pushed as hard as these 2 teams have been pushed in this series? You go across the playoffs. I feel like these 2 teams are being pushed to their absolute limits in this one, and I'm not sure anybody else has been pushed that way yet.
So I know I agree with that. First of all, but particularly, the Nuggets, man, they're going to go through this twice in a row.
I think Thunder too, though. Thunder are being pushed here. Like they're having to do things they didn't have to do at any point in this year to this point. They've been winning easy. Now they're having to go to other things.
For sure in this series, and I think they're never going to admit this, but there's a certain part of me that believes there's a little level of shock within those walls of that building that like they're in this situation. They were 68-14. I mean, you don't expect to be pushed to the limit like this in the second round. Now, I do think the seedings in the NBA are completely out of whack anymore. They'll never be right again because of all the games that guys miss.
Yeah.
So you get these teams that are not normal, 6, 7, 8 seeds. It's not normally what you get, okay? Because these guys come back. They're healthy at that time of the year. And now here we go. So I do think there's something with that. But you're right, man. They've pushed him. They've pushed him as hard as they can. Now, let me ask you something. Do you think that's going to matter in terms of their effect on these teams, whoever wins this game on the next round?
Well, that was my next question was, do any of these, are either of these teams going to have enough? And the schedule came out, by the way, for round 2. It starts on Tuesday. So you have Sunday as your game, and then Tuesday is game 1. And there's no 2-day break in between. It's every other day, the entire way through game 7. Yes, I think this happened last year. And I remember last year, Denver versus Minnesota goes 7. It was a dogfight. And I remember talking to people with the Nuggets team and just saying, like, when after they had lost, do you think that they could have beaten Dallas in the next round? And they said, I don't think we or Minnesota could have beat them in the next round because both teams emptied the tank. I don't know that I would say neither of these teams can beat Minnesota, but I will say that their odds go down based on how difficult and how grueling this series has been.
Before I answer this, I have to just shout out to Tony B, who says my announcing was pro Thunder last night. Very disappointing.
Come on, Legs. Why were you so pro Thunder, man? Come on, man. You're hurt my feelings.
That might be the dumbest thing that's ever been written on this show in 2 years.
We need a pillow talk for the chat. Come on, Tony B. Come on, Tony B. Everybody else in the chat's loving you.
First of all, I'm never pro anybody, man. I honestly, genuinely try to call the game completely from an unbiased. But if one team is playing better for certain stretch, they're going to get some love, man. Whatever. That's literally might be the dumbest thing anybody's ever said in this show. Anyway, here's where I'm going to go with this, Adam. I believe now the way this has shaped up, whoever wins the Western Conference is going to win the NBA title.
Man.
And I believe any one of the 3 teams left in the West can win the West. I don't know that for sure Oklahoma City is going to win that game on Sunday. Yeah. And we talked about it as we were going off the air. And I said, look, man, the Thunder were eliminated the second round a year ago. They're facing it again. There will be pressure on them. There's always, listen, the home teams win 95% of the time in a game 7, but I still believe there's more pressure on those teams. Typically, they're better teams. That's why they're playing that game at home, because they had a better season, right? So, but they play through it. But the pressure is unmistakable. If you're in a tight game in the fourth quarter, and you got to count on some of these guys for OKC to make shots, particularly, let's start with Jalen Williams. How do you think Jalen Williams is feeling right now going into this game, the way he has shot the ball in this series? He's had 4 games. I think it was like 1, 4, 5, and yesterday, something like that, where in those 4 games, he's shooting 24% from the field. And this is your co-star. This is your second best player. This is the only other guy that breaks anybody down off the dribble with a live ball. Everything else is done through the system as role players. He's the only other guy. So he's not in a good place. And he did not play well yesterday. I mean, he was shooting balls that I could see him from the angle I was sitting at. Immediately, I would kind of gesture with my hand, like off left, off right, whatever, as I knew immediately. And then he misses the breakaway dunk. I don't know what was going on that play, but he's in a terrible place. If this game is close in the fourth quarter, there's going to be so much pressure on this team because of what happened a year ago. They were number 1 seeding, got bounced in the second round, and here we are right back in this place. Denver has experience. They've won a championship, the core, and they've been in game 7s. They've been in big moments. And so, listen, if this game's close, Denver could win the game. And either one of these teams obviously can go toe-to-toe with Minnesota and vice versa. Minnesota's capable of getting to the finals. So whoever wins that game on Sunday. So I believe now with Jason Tatum out of the equation, Cavs eliminated, I don't think the Knicks or Pacers are beating any one of these 3 teams in a best of 7.
It might just be that the West beats up on itself so much. I mean, the Nuggets are addicted to game 7s, Legs. And the funniest stat, David Adelman's been a coach for 7 weeks. He has more game 7 experience than Mark Dagnott because he had one just 2 weeks ago. And Denver as a team with Jokic has 7. This will be their 7th game 7. Second this year, but 7th. It's insane that the Nuggets go to game 7s. I have to imagine that gives them some small advantage. I don't think any of the stuff tilts the scale that far. But Denver's been in these, man. They've been in so many game 7s.
I agree. And I think, look, man, I think it's going to come down to the same thing it came down to yesterday. It's going to come down to the supporting cast and their comfortability making shots. Do they look normal? Do they look pressured? Are they tense? does the rim open up early in the game? Jamal Murray, if he can start well again, I do think that calms the role players down. If Jamal Murray is struggling early, because I'm not worried about Jokic, if Jamal Murray is struggling early, I do think as those role players, those other guys probably internalize that a little bit. Like he's not going, man, I got to make shots. You start thinking like that, you press. Jamal Murray comes out, opens the rim up a little bit, gives you, 8-point, 10-point first quarter, like something like that with whatever Jokic is doing. I believe that allows those guys to calm down. They'll like, oh man, our two best guys are here. They're playing. Yeah. They're okay with this. Now I can kind of stay in my lane. When those stars struggle, the role players feel like they've got to do more and they press. So I do think Jamal Murray's start is critical, but overall the biggest factor is those other guys. Christian Brown, Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., you put Westbrook in that category, Peyton Watson, maybe Strawther gets some run. Can you guys make enough threes to help Jokic with the traffic he's going to see and Murray? And that's the difference for me in the game. It was the difference yesterday. It's going to be the difference again on Sunday.
Well, here's the only other difference, and it can be our last point. Aaron Gordon appeared to hurt a hamstring last night. I know he only had 5 points last night, but he's instrumental on both ends of how they operate. The team is just different. Him, Murray, and Jokic, those are the three guys that are like irreplaceable. Everybody else, you kind of hope they can do this, that. Those three guys are instrumental. If he's hurt with a hamstring injury, to me, it completely changes the complexion of this game because I don't know that Denver has as many advantages now physically, which is what they have, size advantage over Oklahoma City. They won't have that if he's not available or if he's only able to go 50%.
Big, man. It's big. This is great, man. This is what it's all about, and obviously, you go toe to toe like this for 6 games. It's anybody's series, but the truth is the data says 95% of the time home team wins this game.
Home team wins. Yeah.
That's just what happens historically. Having said all that, I don't think anybody that really knows the game that follows this league should be surprised if Denver wins this game. I just don't think you should be surprised. And also, I saw somebody make a comment about the Pacers. Don't underestimate them. I'm not underestimating them. In fact, I'm very confident the Pacers are going to beat, assuming it's the Knicks or the Celtics, really. But I think the Knicks are going to win that series. They're probably going to win tonight. Yeah. Pacers, I think the Pacers are going to end up in the finals.
Yeah.
So I'm not underestimating them. I just look at these 3 teams in the West, the way they're built with their top talent and the way that for Denver's worried about their offense and how those guys can control the action. For Minnesota and for OKC, it's their defense is so good and they've got star power, guys that can go off, but they also have great defenses. So they're all 3 built a little bit differently, but you survived the West. I just think you feel like it's your year.
Yeah. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, we're going to get to the Celtics and the Knicks who play tonight in Game 6. So we're going to talk about that one as well as take some of your mailbag questions that are about the playoffs, and I found a lot of them interesting. We'll do that on the other side. First, let me tell you about Vivid Seats. The NBA playoffs are underway, so there's no better time to be in the arena experiencing that playoff intensity in person. If you're trying to catch your team live this postseason, let us tell you about our friends at Vivid Seats. Vivid Seats is the best place to get your tickets for any live event. They have the best selection of games and seats, and every purchase is backed by their 100% buyer guarantee. Plus, Vivid Seats is the only ticket marketplace that rewards you for every purchase. So download the Vivid Seats app and start earning rewards towards tickets today. New Vivid Seats users who use the promo code ALLNBA30 will receive $30 off their first purchase of $300 or more. Once again, click the link in the show notes, go to vividseats.com or download Vivid Seats app and use promo code ALLNBA30 for $30 off your first purchase of $300 or more. When it comes to playoff basketball, being there is all that matters, so experience it with Vivid Seats. Also want to tell you about Lucy Nicotine. It's 100% pure nicotine, always tobacco-free, available in pouches, gum, and our favorite, the Breakers. Breakers are pouches, but with a capsule of liquid flavor inside that helps saturate the pouch. Breakers are available in 4 milligram or 8 milligram options, and they have all kinds of flavors, including mint, berry, citrus, and espresso. Pouches go all the way up to 12 milligrams, and if you're not a pouch guy or gal, Lucy Gum is available in 2 milligram, 4 milligram, and 6 milligram options. Set yourself up for a subscription and have Lucy delivered straight to your door. No more weekly gas station trips. And you right now, let me tell you about the fine print. Lucy products are only for adults of legal age, and every order is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical. All right, back here on the All NBA show, segment 2 here as we get into some rapid fire stuff. Make sure you're subscribed. Legs is, I think we'll have a very regular schedule from here on out now that Legs is done with the call and the play-by-play. And by the way, Legs, you got some big shout-outs last night on the timeline. I don't know how much you see this stuff, but there were a lot of people hyping you being part of that game, including Bill Simmons, the biggest NBA podcast out there, gave you quite the endorsement.
So, yeah, some of that filtered back to me. I'm not a big, I don't pour over social media and stuff like that. So usually somebody has to tip me off that somebody said something because I'm not like diving into it. That's flattering, man. I know how influential Bill Simmons is. I know how big he is in the podcast world, covering the NBA. He's been doing it a really long time. So that was very, very flattering to hear him say that. I thought we had a good call last night. I love working with Dave Pasch, man. He's one of the best in the business. Katie George, our sideline reporter, is fantastic. So we were kind of, bittersweet, man, saying goodbye to each other at the hotel because we're literally not going to see each other. In fact, Dave Pasch, that's his last game of the season. He's going to Italy on Monday for 5 weeks. Like he's going on vacation. Katie George is going to do like the Eastern Conference Finals for radio, and then she's got the WNBA. I've got a month coming up in studio, which, by the way, you'll see me on the Western Conference Finals. Game 1 is Tuesday. You'll see me, if you want to watch it, to flip over. There'll be an alternate way to watch the conference finals. I'll be part of this thing called Insight Cast, it's called. It's going to be this virtual thing, and at times I can put on a VR headset and take you on the court as if I'm looking around like a player in the game. We've got all kinds of cool graphics and stats that you can't see on the regular broadcast. So I'm going to be doing that for the first 4 games of the series at Ryan Rucco, so I'm excited about that. That's kind of my next assignment. But I got some love last night, man. I was very appreciative of it. Humbled.
We got to get you on the Simmons show. Simmons is my favorite guy. I mean, I'm in this industry in large part because of how much I enjoyed him 15, 20 years ago. So we got to get a Legler Simmons crossover going.
I'd love to, man. Yeah. Bill should reach out, man. I'd love to come on.
There
get
you
him
go,
over
man.
here. Yeah.
Let's get him over here, actually. Let's do that. Let's get Simmons on our show. Let's go to Celtics Knicks now. That game happens tonight. The Knicks are favored by 2.5. It's a must-win game for both teams, in my opinion. I know there's a game 7. Anything can happen. But I just look at this. There's a difference. OKC was up 3-2. You go on the road. Versus you play at home. You were up 3-1, and now you're in a game 6. To me, if the Knicks drop this one, I feel like all pressure is on them in the game 6. So to me, weirdly, a must-win game for both teams.
I don't know if I feel it's as must win as you do for the Knicks. It obviously is for the Celtics. Their season's over. For the Knicks, without Tatum, it's inconceivable they could win. They've already won twice in Boston. I think they're comfortable there. So I think it's less than you maybe. Like I would say going into game 7, I still wouldn't really know in my gut who's going to win that game. But here's the deal. The Knicks at home, first time potentially go to the conference finals in 25 years for a major market city like the Knicks. And what that atmosphere is like in the Garden. Those guys tonight are going to feel a level of pressure with making shots. I'm not worried about Brunson. I'm not worried about Josh Hart. I think Josh Hart, whatever, man, we'll be fine. I think Bridges will be fine. Anunoby, man, he's had some games in this series where it's hard to believe it's the same guy I watched when Brunson was out, averaged 25 points a game for a month. I didn't have any idea OG Anunoby could be that good offensively. Man, in this series, he has had some moments. So I'm a little worried about him for the Knicks, and I'm a little bit worried about Karl-Anthony Towns. I'm going to be honest with you. Little bit worried about it. During the regular season, they had this 1-2 punch, man. And Karl-Anthony Towns had a great year. In fact, he might make an all-league team. It's possible. He had a great year. And their usage was always going to tilt toward Brunson, but it was it was like the 1-2 punch. Look at what's going on in the postseason. Brunson's shots go up by 4+ a game. Karl-Anthony Towns come down by 2-3 a game. So now you've got a 7-shot per game differential. I feel like sometimes it's so Brunson heavy, Towns gets taken out of his rhythm a little bit. Nothing's being run for him. He's not really, and then he gets passive. So I'm really curious to see what the approach is going to be. If I'm Tom Thibodeau, I'm not worried about Brunson getting off early. I am absolutely talking to Jalen Brunson saying, we have to get Karl-Anthony Towns some shots early in this game. If he hits, and his three-point shooting has been brutal in this series, but if he hits some threes early or gets the ball and scores, I think he's a different player in a game like this. Brunson will turn it on whenever he wants to. Like, he's that good. He's not fazed by pressure. The key is Cat. You got to get him going, and I'm worried about him on this stage and what that's going to feel like. If this game is close in the fourth quarter, I worry about some of these Knicks making shots. I do.
Yeah. I'm surprised you didn't include Bridges in there because I also feel like he's up and down a little bit. But you are right that to me it's about OG Anunoby and Karl-Anthony Towns. I almost have more, expectation on OG Anunoby, who struggled in this last one and it cost them. Like, every team has this guy that really multiplies what they do. And for me, the Knicks, it's OG Anunoby. So I'm with you. All eyes are on him tonight. And to see if he has a good game, I think the Knicks are winning. If he doesn't, it sets up a tough spot. But here's one thing I disagree with, and maybe you'll disagree with me. I still think the Celtics have a chance even without Tatum because their team is so good. They have so many good players. Now, it's obviously not as good of a chance. They were favorites before. They're not favorites anymore. But I look at this and I go, they're still a great team, and they still have guys you can give the ball to in tough moments. And in some ways, it provides more clarity because now you get more aggressive from your other guys. But do you agree with me, or do you disagree that the Celtics are hurt by the Tatum loss, but not eliminated by it?
Excuse me. I do agree with you. They're not eliminated from it. They can win this series. Here's what they have. They have a player in Jaylen Brown who, to a large extent, lives in the shadow of Jason Tatum, even though he won the Finals MVP a year ago. Most nights when you watch them play, and if Tatum gets going, it's clear. Like, Jaylen Brown is second man on the totem pole. He just is. Yeah. But he has the ability when Tatum doesn't play to just go be this incredible number one option. And he was in this game. 26, 8 boards and 12 assists. I mean, he did it all, and he played great defense on Brunson without getting in foul trouble, which is hard to do. So they do have a great player to be an alpha. They've got a great supporting cast. If I'm the Knicks, one of my priorities in this game, treat Derrick White like Jason Tatum. And I don't think they did that the other night. Derrick White is a really good player, all-star caliber player, man, and he's a guy that, played on Team USA the whole bit. I get it. I don't know that the Knicks treated him with the level of respect that he needed to be treated with in that game. Because where's it going to come from? There's nobody else really that gets their own at all. Jrue Holiday, Horford, Porzingis is a mess right now with health and just not playing well. He's almost a non-factor. And then you get these guys off the bench, Hauser.
Peyton Pritchard, maybe.
Pritchard a little bit can, but not really. And he's mainly shooting threes. And then you had this incredible performance from Luke Cornett the other night, but mainly defensively. But so Derrick White is the guy, man. Like, you're only going to do so much against Jaylen Brown. He's just too good a player. I'm targeting Derrick White. I'm making his catches harder. He's not getting any space coming off a ball screen to shoot a three. I'm finding him in transition, even if that means I give up Al Horford running down the middle of the floor for a dunk. I am staying wide with Derrick White in transition, who's going to run to the wings every time and pull a three if he gets daylight. Guy at 34 points. He was 7 for 13 from the three. He should be priority number one for the Knicks defensively, because I think if Derrick White is just average to below average, if you can make him that level of priority, I think the Knicks are going to win the game without a problem, because I don't know where else they're going to generate offense. So I don't think they did it the other night. Derrick White got loose early, and then he had another run in the second half, but he was already feeling it by then. It's hard to shut a guy's water off in this league when it's already turned on piping hot. It was too late. They got to turn his water off from the beginning. And that to me is what the Knicks should be looking at in this game.
Well, the champs from 2 years ago, difficult to kill. Denver Nuggets, they just find a way to survive. And the Boston Celtics, the champs of last year, I think have that same pedigree where it's like, hey, I don't care who's better. We're tough to kill, and you're going to have to kill us. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited for tonight. We have some mailbag questions here. We got about 10 minutes. I'm going to start with my own question, which is, first of all, I have a couple takeaways from the playoffs so far. one, the regular season to me is becoming less and less about wins and losses. Seeding still matters. It's a factor, and you want to have home court in a game 7. That's a big part of it. But it's really more about building a malleable identity. And that's what I think you're seeing in these playoffs is teams that are able, like, okay, all year we've built something. And I think the teams that are examples of this are the Knicks, the Wolves, and the Pacers. Teams that didn't get off to great starts, struggled early on. Some of it's injury, this or that. But a lot of it was we have to learn some new styles. We have to make ourselves versatile. And as the years went on, they got hot, they got ready, and now you're in a playoffs and they can take different punches and adjust and adapt. So the regular season, 68 wins, 65 wins, 70 wins, those things, I just wonder how much we're going to value them going forward versus is that team preparing for all optionality?
I think that's a great point. I also think, Adam, something else that really matters is the teams that have guys, especially their top guys, trending up, man, as you're closing out the year into the postseason. And a perfect example of it is Minnesota with Julius Randle.
Yep.
I mean, and that was something that took time to get comfortable for Randle. Next to Edwards with Gobert, new coach, it just, you could tell. He got comfortable probably February, March. I mean, look at what he's doing right now. He's been incredible in the postseason. And so you got your top guys trending up, surrounded by defenders, guys that play hard, role players, to fill a lane, do your job, let these two dudes do their thing every night and have them both in rhythm at the same time. Basically sums up Minnesota. Look at OKC. Jalen Williams. Their defense is great, but Jalen Williams is struggling. That's their second guy. He is not in rhythm. He's their number 2 guy in terms of breaking anybody down. He's struggling. Now they get taken the distance in this round, even despite the fact they won 68 games. The ups and downs of look at the injuries that Cleveland had. And then those guys come back and they don't play well. Indiana dispatches them in 5, man. There was nothing to them. They move on. We'll see what Boston could do to survive this thing without Tatum. But so that's the other thing, man. And some of it's luck with injuries. Some of it is just like the way you manage your team and manage guys so that they hit their stride when they have to, and they're in a dead sprint when the playoffs start. And that's what I feel like the teams that are ultimately going to survive look like.
And that's why depth is a different word in the regular season than it is in the playoffs. In the regular season, it's surviving injuries, being able to play 9 or 10 guys so nobody's playing high minutes. In the playoffs, it's really more about, 6, 7 guys, but you can play with any version of them, any combination of it. So like right now, the Thunder have 9 or 10 guys they can play, but is it more valuable than Denver's 7 guys they can play because they can plug guys into different spots? The depth, they both have an important type of depth.
I love that point because there's a thing I was wondering as we're sitting there getting ready for this game and watching the game and just crunching numbers on some of these guys for OKC. Like I'll give you a perfect example. And sometimes I go, well, what's the point of having a guy on your roster that in the regular season can be a major part of your rotation, major scoring punch off your bench, really good on-ball defender. His analytics as a one-on-one defender are fantastic. And then you get to a certain part of the season, you can't play him anymore. It's just crazy to me. Isaiah Joe's who I'm talking about.
Yeah, Isaiah Joe. Yep.
So you look at some, and even Wiggins. Wiggins was a huge part of what they did all season. I mean, he was scoring punch. He hit a whole new level for like 2 months, man. The guy averaged like 18 to 20 points a game. And now you get to this point in the season, it's like, well, we're going to shorten everything down, and we don't trust these guys to take certain shots, and their leash is super short when they're in the game. And it's just like, man, well, what's the point of what these guys do for you in the regular season if you get to this point, you can't trust them, or you don't want to play them anymore? So to your point, we were talking about OKC regularly playing 11 guys, 12 some nights in games that were like competitive, 12 guys. And at the end of the year, what are they doing now? They're playing 8 heavy, and then other little guys trickle minutes, and you don't know in a given night who's going to get those other 6 or 7. But it's like those guys were playing double-digit minutes. Isaiah Joe on the season averaged 21.7 minutes a game and shot 40% from the 3. His minutes are cut in half in the playoffs. In half.
Yeah.
How could you be effective when you're a shooter and your minutes are like you're getting basically 5 minutes a half? That's all you get. And so that's to your point, man. Depth sometimes it's important If you're using it and you
Right.
trust it, it's a major factor. If you're not, you're just like everybody else.
Yeah.
You're playing 8 guys this time of year. You're just like those teams that didn't have any depth. So now it's just like, can your 8 outplay my 8? Whereas in the regular season, it was, damn, man, they wear you down because they're going 11 deep. They got fresh legs. OKC especially, those fresh legs defensively all year because they're playing all these guys. Now you get in the playoffs. Now we're going to play 8 guys.
Yep.
It's just fun. It just cracks me up, man. So depth, I think, is less important if you don't utilize it all the way through.
It's just a different kind of depth. Like there's a regular season depth and a playoff depth, and you need to be kind of a two-way player for the most part in the playoffs. Whereas in the regular season, you can have, this guy can shoot, but he can't defend, but it's fine. We can get 15 minutes out of him this way. You can't in the playoffs. If a guy can't shoot or if a guy can't defend, the teams are just going to change their entire strategy to leverage that fact. And that's where the depth is different. Let's go to the mailbag. Let's see what people had to send in. They got questions for Legs. Eric says the Pacers averaged 80 more passes per game than the Cavs in that series. The Pacers are picking up full court more than any other team in the tracking era. Is the combination of pace, pass, and press about to change the league like the 2015 Warriors did? It's a great question.
It is a great question. I love the numbers. I love how that describes the way Indiana's playing right now. I will say that it's easy to say, well, that's everybody just replicate that. You got to have the personnel to do it. They've got an engine in Tyrese Halliburton that is just different than a lot of teams. And one of the things he does, I think he's the best I've seen at this particular skill since Steve Nash. Steve Nash always caught the outlet pass moving up the floor. It's a knack for understanding as the ball's coming off and it's kicking, and you can start to see now, like we have inside position, we're about to get this ball. He's already moving to an open pocket so that the pass can come to him on the move. One dribble, no more than 2. He's across half court. It's a talent that he has for that and awareness, and it requires great stamina and energy, but it also requires a lot of IQ to read those situations. So not everybody has a guy like that to play with that kind of pace offensively. I do agree that the ball movement was a major difference between the two teams. In Cleveland, I didn't recognize him at times with the over dribbling and the isolation play and guys just trying to do it themselves. That's not what I watched all year when the Cavs were at their best. I think the injuries really messed their head up and they fell behind in that series, and they came back, and I think it was a little bit too much. Like, I'm going to do it right here myself. Yeah. And that just plays right into the hands of a team like Indiana. So to your point, yeah, it's a great style. Not everybody can do that.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me a little bit of 2015 Warriors. Is everyone going to start shooting threes like this? Well, yes, in that the three-point shot is going to increase, but nobody's going to be Steph Curry, so nobody's going to be the Warriors. You're going to have to find your own way to do it. I like the point about the Pacers. They're fun, man. Unique style.
Yeah, man.
What else we got? Has Randall been the best number 2 this postseason? I like this one. If we go through them real quick, Legs, you've got Karl-Anthony Towns. I think he's been better than him. You've got J-Dub, better than him. Jamal Murray, I think he's been better than him. Jimmy Butler, James Harden, Evan Mobley. The ones that are tough, I would say, would be in Boston, the number 2 is Jaylen Brown. I don't know about that one. And then I don't know who the number 2 is in Houston. I'll say Şengün's the number 1. So is it Fred VanVleet, Amen Thompson, Jalen Green? But I think the answer, just based on those guys I just read to you, I think, yes, Julius Randle has been better.
I'll take it a step further. I'm going to say 100%. That's not even debatable for me. And you just went down the list. You rattled off a great list of players. Look at all those guys, man. It's been streaky. Julius Randle has not been streaky. Pull up Julius Randle's game log and just go straight down and look what this guy's been doing, man. Scoring efficiently every single night, double-digit rebounds most night. He had a triple-double with 12 assists in the Golden State series. So his playmaking's been off the charts. He always plays hard defensively. I don't think it's debatable. Yes, Julius Randle has been the best number 2 on a roster in the postseason.
Yeah, I like it. We got another one. We got time for 1 or 2 more, James. What do we have? Orlando Magic Guru asks, how would the Lakers and Warriors fare in the Eastern Conference playoffs? I hate when we do this. I don't know how good either of those teams were. I mean, obviously with Steph Curry, I think they would have been phenomenal. He got hurt. They weren't that good from that point forward, but the Warriors might have been good in the West. The Lakers, I think it's a little fair to ask. The Lakers had a good regular season. They closed strong. They got smacked in the playoffs. They might have been a regular season team.
Well, I mean, you're talking about if everything played out exactly the same way for the Lakers and Warriors in terms of health, Golden State still isn't doing anything without Curry. I mean,
Right, right.
Jimmy Butler had 2 opportunities at the end of that series to prove like what he is as a player, and he barely did anything offensively in either one of those games. And they get sent home. The Lakers, that was an interesting one because, they basically gagged up a game that would have taken them to a point later in that series, would have been the defining moment for them this year. And
I like that point. Yeah.
They didn't get there because they choked that game away, and Minnesota took it. It's a combination of both. But you have shot selection and turnovers, inbounding the ball, committing fouls on drives. Like, that's what you do. Give a game away in a series like that. That was their chance to find out if later the star power would matter, like in a game 7, Luka and LeBron in a game 7. Like we don't know. Because
the only thing I'm going to push back on this, Legs, I got to push back. Hold on.
Yeah, I'm not going to give the benefit of the doubt, Adam. They weren't good enough to get there, so I'm not going to say they're going to roll through the East.
That part I agree with, but here's the thing about extending the series. Would it have gone different? OKC gave up game 1 against Denver. They just blew it. They should not have lost that one. They bounced back. Denver blew games 4 and 5. They should have won at least one of those games. They bounced back. So to me, there's this idea of like, if they would have won that early game, maybe it all would have been different. If you're good enough, you overcome bad losses. You just overcome punting a game in a series, and they weren't. So that's how I feel. All right, let's go to our super chats. What do we have, James? We got some super chats from people. Dylan Pound says, "Hey, Legs, what is the most challenging thing about casting a playoff game? And what is the most fun? Love the content."
Well, I think the most challenging thing is just, there's going to be heightened electricity in the building. So everything's magnified. And so therefore there's more time in a playoff game that you've got to kind of let it breathe. If there's a big moment, Pash is great on those big calls. He had one yesterday I thought was fantastic. And many, but he's selectively so good at understanding this one was bigger. So his voice gets bigger, and then we're going to let the crowd noise come through the TV set. So that's more challenging than it is in a regular season game. The environment is never quite the same. So that for me is you got to be very delicate right there to give it enough breathing room, but get in at the right time so you still can make a comment on what just happened before the next thing happens. It's harder to do that in the playoffs because the crowd is a much bigger presence in the broadcast.
How was that crowd last night?
They were awesome, man. It's funny. Sometimes it's called a mix between what we're hearing in our headset of each other's voices and the crowd. And the mix is always different every game. I had a game earlier this year. The mix was so off, I could barely hear Dave.
Yeah.
And it was really challenging, man. The mix yesterday was the opposite. I think it was to protect us a little bit. It was a little bit muted in my headset, how loud it really was. But one time I kind of lift my ear back and I could hear the roof was going to come off, man. So it's incredible. Like there's so many great arenas in this league. Denver's one of them. OKC, that's going to be nuts.
OKC's going to be crazy.
The best of all, I think you're going to see tonight, Madison Square Garden.
There you go.
You got a chance to eliminate the Celtics of all teams and get to a place you haven't been in 25 years. And we were talking about this. Who made this point to me? Was it you that said, oh, yeah, it was you. I love the point you made about the greatest Celtic of all time is still up for grabs.
The greatest
we went through these other franchises. Like, oh, you're not getting that. Not getting that one. Not getting that one. Like every team. And then you get to the Knicks. Like, you know what? I mean, and maybe whether you're right or not, that's not your point is if the Knicks win a title, Jalen Brunson will be put into that conversation, and some people will just throw him right there at the top. So that's what's at stake, man, for the Knicks, and it starts tonight. The journey, like this is your home game to close out the Boston Celtics.
Yeah,
got to get
greatest Laker, greatest Celtic, greatest Bull, greatest Warriors. Those titles are not really up for grabs. They're almost impossible to get. Knicks is up for grabs. You get a championship. It's like, hey, man, we don't have a lot of those. So you carry it to them. You can be that. All right, what else we got? Mike, but not Ike, says, big W, Legs, LFG. As Legs undefeated in Denver? Is Legs undefeated in Denver? Get a house now, Legs. And would you say our arena compares to other atmospheres? You kind of just answered that last part, but you talked about it yesterday. Moving to Denver, man, People are rolling out the red carpet. I think they'll offer to unload the truck, like help you move.
You know what's nice? You know what's nice about certain arenas in the Western Conference? A certain place, Denver would be there, Oklahoma City, Dallas, I'd put there. When I go call a game there, it's just like the environment is different in general with the fans mentality. You go to certain cities like in the East Coast, whatever, you get a Legler, you suck thrown at you, going to the restroom at halftime. You don't really I didn't get that in Denver. So like, it's nice, man. It's nice to feel the love, A lot of people there, we're giving me some love in the arena. It's great, man. I saw some great ones. I mean, the atmosphere I saw in Detroit in the Knicks series was incredible. In that game 4, when Hardaway didn't get the call at the end of the game, remember that game? It was such a big win for the Knicks. And what environment, man. Chase Center was ready out in the Bay Area, and then they lost that close game 3, and then game 4, they got rolled. So it didn't live up to what it normally is. Denver, OKC, and the Garden. I haven't been in the Garden for a postseason game this year. They're all, man, right there. They're all absolute top notch. I think from a viewing standpoint, though, like I've told you before, the atmosphere coming through the TV at Madison Square Garden is different than any other place because so many people are standing up around the court like the whole game. It's just it's wild, man. It's going to be a madhouse tonight. It'd be cool to have a ticket to that and just sit there as a fan, man, and watch.
We got another one, James. Jeremy says, sad you aren't working any more games, Bill. Simmons said on his podcast that you are the best color commentator for the NBA, and I agree. We talked about that. But look, man, you're getting lots of love. Jeremy, appreciate the love, Jeremy. I appreciate that very much, and I appreciate Bill Simmons, man, with the shout-out. I might have to get in touch with Bill and thank him for that. It was very nice of him to say. So, yeah, I'm sad I'm not doing any more games either. But like I said, check out the Western Conference Finals. There's an alternate way. I'm not even sure exactly yet what channel it's going to be on with one of our ESPN platforms. It might be on ESPN2. I'm not sure yet, but it's an alternate way to watch the conference finals. I'll be on it with Ryan Rucco doing the analysis with some really the Manning cast,
stuff, man. Yeah,
Legler cast.
Insight. It's called the Insight Cast, man. So we're doing our first rehearsal for it Monday night, and then we're on the air Tuesday night for Game 1. So I will still be calling games and then a lot of post-game stuff with SportsCenter and Van Pelt coming your way over the next month.
Jiahui Wang says, only two.
Ned, legs, you suck. I love it.
There you go. Hey, man, your ego was getting too big with all the love. Somebody had to come in,
I can't tell if Ned means that or he was making a joke. He probably means it.
Probably making a joke. Only 2 undefeated teams in the clutch. Pacers, Wolves. Pacers are 5-0. Wolves are 4-0. Both teams are now in their respective conference final. I think it's a meaningful stat.
I'll say this. Of all the teams in the postseason that we have right now to this point, the Indiana Pacers have played the most consistently to their ceiling of what I saw in the regular season. They're 8-2 in the postseason. They have been really good most of every game. So I just think that their consistency, man, Minnesota has been very, very good in that regard too. But I think Indiana maybe even has the edge. And I don't know that their competition level probably hasn't been as tough as some of these teams in the West are facing. But it doesn't matter. Their sheet was clean, man. They played to their best, particularly under pressure when they had to get shot making done. They did it.
All right, hit that outro music, James. That does it for today. It does it for this week. What a great week, man. We had great playoff games. We had great shows. We had great engagement from our audience, which we always love and appreciate. Legs, go to bed. Go get some sleep, man.
Hey, wait. You're tripping, brother. You know what tonight is?
What's tonight?
AC/DC, baby.
You better go to bed. You better get some sleep right now.
My favorite band of all time, and I'm going on no sleep. But you know what? The band probably didn't get any either. So here we go. Yeah. Yes, sir. I'm going to have little devil horns on like Angus Young, and I'm going to be having an AC/DC on my front of my shirt, and I'm going to be having some drinks with my wife, and I'm going to be rocking out.
You're a madman. You're absolutely insane. Go for it. Go all out. I can't wait for it. That painted a nice picture for everybody. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Have yourself a great weekend. We'll be back Monday with round 3 of the playoffs. Can't wait. We'll see you then.
nightmare.